Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this awesome platform. For those that are new to this YouTube channel, my name is Dahun. I'm so excited to have you all on this video today, and I'm even more excited for today's interview because there's so much in store for you all. I don't know who is familiar with Diyanu here. If you're not, you better wake up. So Diyanu is a modern African clothing brand. They actually sell ready-to-wear African clothing attire like blazers. This is actually a Diyanu blazer, trousers, dresses, and I can go on and on. And this is so important, especially if you're an African in the diaspora, because you understand what it takes. If you, for example, if you live in the United States like me, it's challenging if you want to wear African attire because you have to look for the material, you have to find a good tailor, and all of that is just a lot of work. So that's why I'm so grateful for Diyanu, where you can just go on their website and find whatever African attire you want to wear and purchase it right away. A lot of times when people see thriving businesses, it's so easy to underestimate the work, the sweat that is being put in behind the scenes. So I'm so excited that I actually have the founder of this amazing clothing brand on our channel today. Her name is Addie. I'm so excited because she's going to be sharing her story, the journey to starting and building Diyanu. She's also going to be sharing some of the challenges she faced throughout the process. And my hope is that her story would inspire you, right? It will tell you and show you that it doesn't matter whatever challenges you're faced with, you can overcome as long as you're persistent. So everyone, please, let's go ahead and welcome the amazing Addie, who is the founder of this amazing clothing brand, Diyanu. Hey Addie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes.
And thank you for the compliment and introduction of my brand.
Yeah, I'm so happy and excited to have you on here. But anyways, let's just dive straight through the video. The first question I have for you, Addie, is I hear the name Diyanu. What does Diyanu mean and what inspired that name?
Yeah, very good question. So Diyanu is a combination of French and Yoruba. I am originally from Nigeria, so my middle name is Iyanu. And I wanted to initially call the brand Iyanu, but Iyanu.com was not available for the URL. So then I kind of remixed it, added the D in the front. So D apostrophe. If anyone's familiar with French, it means of or from. So I kind of combined French and Yoruba and created Diyanu. And then it kind of also exemplifies, or it's also a way to explain the brand, what we're about, because we are a combination of, you know, kind of traditional African prints, and then we create more modern styles and silhouettes. And it's kind of combining like African and Western together, you know? So that's kind of the
Yeah.
story behind Diyanu.
Wow. And for those that are curious, what does Iyanu mean?
Yes, so in Yoruba, as you know, I'm sure, Iyanu means miracle or wonderful.
I'm actually ashamed to say I did not even know Iyanu meant that.
Oh,
I need
really?
to improve on my Yoruba. Yes, I'm a Yoruba girl, but I need lessons on it.
You and
But
me
thank you so
both.
much
We
for
both need
sharing.
lessons then.
I know. All right. So I'm really curious to know what sparked your interest in fashion. So have you always been into fashion since you were young? And what also led to your desire to even start Diyanu in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always loved fashion in the sense that I loved wearing things that were unique. I liked shopping and buying things that people didn't, not everyone had. So I remember just, when I was in high school, I was able to go shopping for myself. I always loved shopping and buying like unique things to make me stand out. So I never really thought about doing it for like a career per se. So when I went to college, I was in school for international business, and then I later got a master's in international marketing. And it was after my master's, and I was working full time as a buyer for a lab supply company. So totally unrelated industry. And at that time, I was kind of not happy with my job. I was thinking about my future, like, what do I want to do eventually? What do I want to create? And I was, for some reason, some of the things I was reading, like Think and Grow Rich, there were some books that really inspired me. There was another book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I think those books really played a role in given me the inspiration to want to do something else outside of like my 9 to 5. So I was looking for a means to kind of build a legacy. And then I was speaking to a fellow Nigerian friend, and I remember she was saying like how she started seeing African print everywhere. And I started doing a little bit of research, and I saw like a lot of people were looking for modern African where like traditionally, as you know, you have to find the fabric, find a tailor, then get it made. And in Nigeria it's pretty easy, that's the norm, right?
Yeah.
But here
Yeah.
in the West, in the US, it's very difficult to find a good tailor, so, and then is it affordable, because that's usually very expensive getting anything custom made. So I realized there was a problem, for anyone looking here in the US, like for if they were interested in modern African inspired fashion or modern African wear. So then I
Yeah.
decided to be the answer to that. And at the time, I didn't have a fashion background. I did have a business and marketing, so that was obviously very useful. And
Yeah.
and then in order to kind of fill in the gaps for my lack of fashion knowledge, I had to like read books and do my own research on like how do you actually start a clothing brand, and what does that entail? What is the process? Because I mean,
Yeah.
we from the start, like it was designing the clothing and then getting them manufactured, and that's you have to kind of know the steps to making it happen. So yeah, so that's kind of how I started thinking about what I wanted to do, and then I just created a business plan and I started taking action right
Yeah.
away. And I was super excited to be venturing on this journey. I remember at the time.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I really love what you said, right? You basically found a problem and you definitely worked towards providing a solution to that problem. I love that
Yes.
because, of course, I moved to the United States, I believe it was in 2011, but ever since I moved here, I always wanted to stay connected to my culture. And of course, as you can even see my home, I have like African canvases all around.
Yeah.
But when I was in college as well, I was also a part of some African organizations, and we'll have events
Right.
where we have to wear African clothing. And I'll be honest, it
Right.
was always a challenge finding like where to buy African clothing from. Just like you
Right.
mentioned, the concern was how do I get the fabric? Who do I know that is in Nigeria that can maybe buy for me, and who do I know that is coming to the United States that can bring the fabric for me? And then, like you also
Right.
said, the challenge is now then finding a tailor. If you're back home, finding a tailor is breeze, and most of the time they're
Right.
affordable. But here, oh
Right.
my, I really struggled because I went to school in Oklahoma. So imagine trying
Oh,
to find
okay.
someone that can sew good African clothing in Oklahoma. That was tough. So that's why, for me, when I first found out about Diyanu, I was so excited because now I know that if I want to go for events and celebrate my African culture, I can literally go on the Diyanu website, look from the list of options of clothing you have, whether it's like from dresses to blazers to trousers, and literally purchase whatever I want ready to wear. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for doing this. And you
Oh,
also,
thank you.
yeah, I also like how you mentioned that you had to read books as well to learn about building a fashion clothing brand. At the start of Diyanu, were you designing the clothes yourself, or was that something you were sourcing out?
Well, I was designing the clothing in the sense that I was the one coming up with the design concepts. And then I had to partner with a fashion designer who would actually create the samples and also create
Yeah.
the patterns. the pieces to that need to be cut and sewn. And yeah, so everything was done locally in Philadelphia, actually. So I found a fashion designer there, and then I was getting everything made in Philly as well. So so that's how I kind of got into it. I had to find someone who had that skill set.
You mentioned you were working in a lab supply company. Yes, lab
Company,
supply
yeah.
company, and then you found this passion and decided to move forward with it. I came across one of your videos a few weeks ago where you mentioned that you started Diyanu, that was January 2014. And
Hmm.
by May 2014, you quit your job, literally 5 months after
Yeah.
starting the company. I honestly found that very audacious, right? So the question I have for you is, what gave you that confidence to quit your job at that time? Because as we know, starting a new business can be challenging. It will take time for the business to be profitable, sometimes
Right.
months, and a lot of times even years, right? So, what gave you that confidence to do this within such a short time of 5 months? And how did you also prepare financially for that decision? Because you would have bills to pay. Besides your personal bills, you also need money to like grow the business pending the time it's profitable. So, just want to hear that side of the story.
Yeah, so at that time I think I had some money saved up, and then I actually had to cash out my 401k
Ooh.
in order to like pay my bills. And then to finance the business, I had taken out like a credit card loan, um, which isn't always advised, right? Because you never know what will happen. And so it was for financing the company startup cost. It was a mixture of like my savings and this credit card loan. But then to like take care of myself while I was waiting to rely on the business for my bills, I had to take out the 401k to like survive. So, and the reason why I quit my job was because I figured if I really wanted to make Diyanu work, it needed to be my full time gig.
Yeah.
Because I was spending, 9 hours either commuting to work or at work. And that's time I could be investing in my own business. So I decided it was kind of like sink or swim, which can be scary, as a lot of people point out. But I think for me at the time, and I think I did it at a good time because I didn't necessarily have you know, kids and like, responsibility outside of myself. So I could just have enough to take care of me. And then if it didn't work out, I could like, let's say, move in with my family, like my
Yeah.
dad or something. So I was very blessed to have that kind of security blanket in a sense, So like, because I asked myself, and there's something like anyone who wants to do something should ask themselves is, what is the worst thing that can happen, if this doesn't work out? And if you believe you can survive the worst thing that can happen, then go for it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made me feel that I could do it. And then, quitting my job forced me to figure out how to make Diyanu succeed. So I was now working on it 24/7, essentially, like trying to figure out like what is the best channel, what is the best
Yeah.
avenue. So at that time, I was doing um, like I would station myself like on a street in Philly, and I was selling my clothes outside of I was setting up outside a dentist's
Wow.
office. I remember at one time. Um, I was also doing like trunk shows at this one store in Philly as well. So I was really trying to be out there and do whatever it took to get things off the ground. I also went to different like festivals and events and was doing some vending. But then I also realized that like that was very limited in terms of like, reach of people. Like you can only reach so many people in a given day. So I'm like, online is obviously an avenue that has worked for so many
Yeah.
other businesses, other brands. So how can I make online work for me? So that's kind of what got me researching to see how can I drive traffic to my website? Because at the time I was selling on different platforms like eBay, even like who shops at eBay anymore? But Diyanu was on eBay at some point. Etsy, we were briefly on Amazon, and the most successful was Etsy at the time. And then my website was not really gaining much traction. And then I stumbled on this course on how to drive sales through Facebook ads. So, and that was the course that kind of changed everything overnight for me. And I didn't discover that course until like October of that year. So I was just kind of hustling like between May and October,
Wow.
trying to figure out what to do to make things work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So the key things I'm really getting from some of the things you just shared are number one, risk management, right? That's very crucial. I also love your growth through the journey, right? Because you not only read books or took courses at the start of the business, but it was something you kept on doing as you were growing
Right.
the business so that you could keep learning more. But going back to some of the decisions you made when, of course, when you quit your job and in terms of financing, if you could go back in time, could you have done the same thing? Like, could you have cashed out your 401k, or are there certain decisions that looking back today you regret or you feel you could have done differently?
I actually wouldn't have changed anything.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, it ended up being worth it. Thankfully, we thank God. Like, um, it ultimately paid off. Taking that
Yeah.
risk and venturing out. Because, if I was only just running Diyanu on the side, I'm not sure how long it would have taken me to figure out, hey, let me take this course on Facebook ads and invest time into things that will actually help me grow the business. Um, and ultimately, it paid off, honestly. So I wouldn't change anything.
Wow, I love that answer. So no regrets. That's good.
No regrets.
Yes, and I do have a question, and I don't know if you wouldn't mind sharing. I mean, if you don't want to share, that's understandable. But how long did it take for Diyanu to finally be profitable? You started in 2014. So what year would you say things actually turned around?
We were actually profitable by year one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
because I mean, the business was very lean in terms of like investments. And that's the beauty of like, I think if you want to start a fashion brand, I want to say you don't have to start big. You can start small. I launched the brand with 6 styles. And then from that, I identified that like skirts were like the best selling like styles. And from there, I started making more of what was the best seller. And that kind of carried us for like the first maybe 2.5 years of the business. And from there, we branched out to like other styles and silhouettes and eventually added menswear also. So because I started small, we were able to be profitable by year one. And the other blessing was at the time, investing or using Facebook ads for ads it was easier to like attract customers back in those days versus now where it's like more competitive because this is now 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So um so things were a little bit easier and it wasn't as expensive, I guess, is the point I wanted to make, to acquire new customers
Yes,
at the
yes.
beginning of the business. Yeah, so that kept costs down for me.
Wow, I honestly really love that concept of starting small. And I really hope this encourages someone out there
Yeah.
because I've seen people and even myself, right? Whenever you have a vision for something, I feel sometimes people are stagnant because they're just so intimidated by that big vision, right? If they
Right.
want to start like maybe a tech company, they're looking at companies like Google, Meta, Amazon, but it took them a long time, or it took some time before they got to where they are right now. So if you're
And
just
lots of money.
exactly lots of money and lots of time, right? So it's
Yeah.
just having that concept of at least let me start with what I have and I would learn through the process, and with time, I can branch out, I can grow. So hopefully, this
Yeah.
helps inspire someone. And this also reminds me of something I've heard where you can't, I mean, of course, I'm a Christian, right? And there was something someone was sharing. I had gone for a women's retreat, and something one of the speakers shared was that you can't steer a stationary car. Like a lot of times people want direction for their lives, or they have ideas they want to execute on, and then all they're doing is just they're just stagnant and like, God, show me the way. But then
Yeah.
I loved how the person used the analogy of a GPS, right? When you first turn on your GPS, it doesn't say anything. It's only when you start moving that it will say turn left. And after you turn left, it says then go right, right? So that
Yeah.
just reminds me of just start with what you have, and eventually there'll be more clarity on what the next steps should be. I really love that, and I'm really glad to know that
Absolutely.
Diyanu was profitable within a year. That's great, and congratulations for
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Yes, and then another question I am really itching to ask is, so what were your biggest fears and challenges that you faced when starting and growing Dianu, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. I guess some of the fears were initially when I first started and I launched the brand, I was a bit scared and nervous. Like, am I going to make back my money that I invested? Because, because I recall like my first customer was one of my coworkers at my last job. And I was like, wow, I need to sell X amount more to like make back my money. So I was nervous about that. And then I think as the business well, and then when I was trying to figure out how to get the business to scale, versus me having to go to like the vending events and all, I was scared at trying to figure out like how can I make this happen? Like, is it possible? And it's really important during those times to feed your mind with like positive, as a Christian, like just positive affirmations, positive
Yeah.
words that will keep you going when you're not seeing what you would like to see. I listen to a lot of like inspirational speakers who just kind of give you that motivation to keep going, and um, and then some other fears as the business started off was like, I guess maybe finding the right people to help you like grow the business, and then will the business continue making money? Like, because in the beginning you're like almost scared that like things could go wrong, and you may not have the means to even pay your employees. Like, who knows? Like, people may stop buying. So there was a point where like I wasn't always sure of what was coming next. And it wasn't until like I got into several like cycles, I guess, because there are times when like things are going great, and then there are times when things aren't going as well, and
Yeah.
you kind of start panicking, thinking, "Oh wow, why aren't things as good as they were before?" But it's in those times that you have to remember, like, it's like life. Life is a cycle, so can be businesses are the same way. There are
Yeah.
times when it's more challenging, and there are times when it's more smooth sailing. So just keeping your eyes on the prize, and just keep being diligent. And that's one thing like that kind of combats fear. Like, keep showing up, keep being diligent, keep doing what needs to be done, do your homework, and things will continue to work out. It may not be today, it may take a little bit of time, but it will eventually work out.
Yeah, I love that. It will eventually work out. You touched on one of your concerns about finding the right people, which I feel is always a concern. Of course, I own a non-for-profit, and of course, with non-for-profits, it's different because you're not actually. I mean, since mine is a growing non-for-profit, I'm not actually paying volunteers yet. But there are just times I have that challenge of who can I find that, even if they're not actually getting paid, they align with the vision and they will continue doing the work. So I'm just curious for you, like, how did you navigate finding the right people to hire to grow your business?
I mean, to be honest, it's still an ongoing challenge. It's trial and error, and like, I mean, I feel like I keep learning the same lesson over and over, but it's finding the right people. One, you have to be willing to pay for a quality person. That was a lesson I had to learn as well. Like, you can't just be like, oh, let me just pay the bare minimum and then expect big things. So you have to be willing to pay at least the market rate for a good employee. And then doing the due diligence during the hiring process to vet them out and asking key questions and
Yeah.
even asking for references. I think everyone has that same challenge. Like, finding the right people, I think, is an ongoing thing. But right now, I think we're in a very good place in terms of our team, and so yeah, we're in a good place right now. But I
That's
feel
good.
like it's always an ongoing challenge finding the right people.
Wow. Wow, that's great. And now we are 11 years in
Yeah.
since the start of Diyanu. What would you say has been the biggest win and what has contributed to your success so far, like the success of Diyanu?
Oh wow. That's a really good question. But I would say, well, recently we were featured on a TV show. Um, it's a Apple TV show called Shrinking. It's a show, like, it's about like therapists. It's very unrelated to, like, African print or anything like that. But one of the characters wore Diyanu in two scenes. And I remember, and it's a show like I normally watch. And I remember just seeing it and I was shocked because, one, I wasn't expecting it from a show I normally watch myself. And then it's a show that
Yeah.
appeals to like a wide audience. And that's one highlight recently that I would say. And then what's cool about it is that a day before, I saw a comment on Instagram that a customer was like, "All right, congratulations! I saw your piece on shrinking on this show." And in my mind, I'm like, "What? I watched that show. I've never seen Diyanu on that show. Like, what is she talking about?" And it was the day after that I actually did watch it and I did see it. But one highlight is just the fact that customers are able to identify Diyanu. Like, they're able to find our prints that are unique. Like, we designed some of our own unique prints. They know, like, it's ours. They know the piece are ours. So it's not just, some random um, African print shop. But yeah, I think the highlight is just knowing that we are creating items and designs that are identifiable, and then our customers, they love it and they can point them out, like when they see it on a TV show, for instance. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what would you say has contributed to the success so far in terms of you saying that the prints are very unique and identifiable? Was that something you did intentionally, like as part of the brand, or did that just happen?
So initially, we weren't creating our own prints for probably the first 4, 5, maybe 5 years of the brand. We were mainly using fabric that was readily available. And then we started venturing into making our own, like, fabric and prints and etc. One, because we create collections that we want them to be more cohesive. So we intentionally make sure, like, the prints and colors that we create make sense for each collection, especially each season as well, and also to make us more unique and for people to be able to see, okay, that is a Diyanu original. So yeah, so it was intentional for those two reasons.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, I want to know more about your day to day, right? Because I've always wondered, I mean, when I was talking to you privately, like a few days ago, I had mentioned that I've been a Diyanu customer for several years now, right?
Yeah.
And getting the opportunity to talk to you, I'm really excited about that. We're really curious to know what does your day to day look like? Like how many days do you actually work or go to work? And when you go to the office, like what do you do from the start to the end of the day?
Uh, my day to day is not as exciting as you would think for a fashion business. um, but so now my day to day, or I work from home twice or once a week actually, and my office is actually about like 15 minutes from my house, and so we have an office space and warehouse space. So in the office space, like we have our marketing, design, and production um, teams. And I also work closely with my brother, who is the president, Dara. But my day to day is really like touching base with like all those teams. Like we have like weekly scheduled meetings with marketing, with design, production, and then also meeting one on one with my brother just to discuss, the overall business. We do that weekly, touch base, and yeah, it's just good to like be able to like see the other team members in the office, collaborate that way. And then of
Yeah.
course it's essential when we're designing a collection, to see the pieces in person. We Because I also approve like the prints in person, the styles as well. I also actually try on those samples that we get. So those are some of the things I do like during the day. And also a lot of meetings. Unfortunately, I have like a lot of meetings,
Yeah.
just touching base with like everyone that, and then responding to emails. Like a lot of my team members, they have questions, and also dealing with like financial stuff, meeting with the CFO. That's like twice a month. And then, yeah, so it's a lot of that. And then we are actually trying to get out more to go to like trade shows. So we have, um, there was a trade show yesterday that my team attended in New York, my design and production team. So we're trying to get out there to like see what's out there. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so my day to day is pretty much
Packed.
in the office.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy. Well, that's good. And are
Yeah.
all the clothing made in-house, or do you outsource to maybe a different vendor? And is that all
Yeah.
within the United States?
Yeah, so now all our stuff is outsourced. It's currently made in Asia, and it's because we have such a wide breadth of product offering. And initially, when we started out, we were making everything in Philly, but they couldn't keep up. It was just um,
Yeah.
outgrew the operation locally in terms of what we even needed, like the materials, like so we had to start outsourcing. And I mean, one of our goals is to make some products in within Africa, and we're actually working on making a kimono in Ghana right now. But so yeah, so a lot of our clothing is we design everything in house, our prints, but then we outsource the production.
I see. I keep on saying congratulations, congratulations once again, Addie.
Thank
I
you.
have two more questions before we begin to round up. And the other question I have is, what do you feel has helped you grow and become a better entrepreneur? Because I hear that everything rises and falls on the leader, right? So if Diyanu is thriving, it's a reflection of who you are, right? So I'm really curious to know what has really helped you through this journey and what has really helped you grow as an individual and as an entrepreneur?
Great question. I would say just trying to keep learning, remaining a student, like just learning what's working with other companies and
Yeah.
implementing it with mine. And, there are years where it's been harder to, I guess, grow, and just because of maybe like personal challenges or whatever. But the ability to continue learning is actually what has helped the company grow, and remain open-minded that there are
Yeah.
new opportunities out there to keep expanding. We do a lot of sweaters. We use different materials. Like the blazer you're wearing is made of like this stretch woven material. And yeah, we're always constantly trying to improve our products, our services, and also how do we reach more people who might be interested in the brand. Doing courses, like I taking leadership courses also has been helpful just to help me become a better leader, because that's something I didn't realize I needed actually.
Yeah.
Because when you start the company, like you automatically become the leader without actually going through the process of learning how to be a leader, I guess you could say. So taking a course like my brother and I took it last year, and that really helped us like open our minds to how we can better lead our teams. Um, yeah, I mean, I just said like constantly trying to grow is the main key to improving.
Wow. I really love what you said. Just that desire to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep getting better. I
Yep,
really, really love
absolutely.
that. Yes, and the final question. So, what advice would you give to anyone that is trying to build a brand, start their own business, based upon your experience?
Yeah, so you have to definitely have a vision of what you want to create, a vision that will, get you out of bed, that will get you going, that is exciting enough. So start with the vision, and then the next is create a plan of action of what steps you need to take to get it off the ground, get it going. And then also have, reminders of why you started, so that when the days are hard or like you're experiencing challenges, like you can remind yourself, okay, this is why I'm doing this,
Yeah.
and I need to just keep going. And then, of course, have either I always say mentor, and I don't personally actually have one, but like I have mentors like virtually, let's say, like from just inspirational leaders that I listen to. Just having those people who can motivate you and, kind of give you insight on like you can keep going. Like it may be hard today, but like just keep going.
Yeah.
Really helps. And then, yeah, always be a student willing to learn and grow as you're on your journey in pursuing your goal and your vision. Those are the main things I would say is needed.
Wow.
And also believe that it's possible. That's another thing. Like definitely keep that in mind. Like when I used to say to myself, like I can do it. Like because there were days when I doubted myself. Like if I was able to get this business off the ground and keep
Yeah.
it going, and you kind of have to just talk to yourself. Say, yeah, I can do this. Um, and then you can say, Bible verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like, you have to speak life to yourself, and just keep the faith that it's possible that you can make it happen.
Yeah, you said a lot of amazing things, but the two things that really stood out to me were number one, constantly have the reminders for yourself during the trying times, right? Because,
Yeah,
yeah, like you already said earlier on in life, there are ups and downs, right? And you definitely
yeah,
want to, and I'll be honest, when you're in those down times, it can be so difficult to feel motivated, right? So really
yeah,
having that plan on what are going to be the things that would remind me to keep going. And also the
yeah.
second thing that you said that I really love is to continue to believe that it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible. Wow, Addie, this was amazing. I want to say thank
Thank you.
you for your time. Thank you for even deciding to not only have this vision of Diyanu, but actually pursuing it. Because by doing this, you're not only, of course, getting money, but you're inspiring other people out there, right? You're showing people that it's possible, and you're also creating amazing products for people to
Thank
wear.
you.
So I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you for something else as well to our viewers. I spoke to Addie offline, and she would actually be offering a 15% discount to people that purchase Diyanu products. So we'll display the promo code and of course the deadline for when purchases need to be made to enjoy this 15% discount. So Addie, thank you as well for your generosity, and
You're welcome.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak on your show. And I hope I'm able to inspire someone out there to pursue their goals and just go after their vision.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Wow. I've said thank you a million times in this video, but thank you so much. And this was really great. This was inspiring. And to our viewers, thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a ton of amazing things that have inspired you, right, to just go forth and execute on whatever vision you have. If you liked this video, which I'm sure you did, make sure you actually hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you actually share with your network as well, because I'm pretty sure this video would inspire other people out there. And drop in the comments, what did you enjoy most about this video? What stood out to you? What did you learn? We would like to know that. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Once again, thanks so much for sticking around, and have an amazing weekend.
Thank you.
Addie.
Thank you, Dahun.